YouTubers, and welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I am taking a look at the final classic series release from Wave 3 of the Toys R Us Dr. Dalek 2-packs. In today's review, we're looking at the 8th Doctor and Dalek Alpha from the 8th Doctor comic strip, The Children of the Revolution. That was weird. Anyway, this is from the comic strip as featured in Doctor Who magazine. So has this set made a clean transition from the page to plastic? Well, let's take a look. The figures come packaged in a window box that features the classic series design. The sides of the box feature various publicity images from the TV movie. And the back of the box features more publicity images from the TV movie, as well as a biography for the 8th Doctor and for the Daleks. The box also features a small note explaining that the figures in this set are based on the 8th Doctor comic strip, written by Scott Gray and illustrated by Lee Sullivan. The inside of the box features an image of a swamp, foresty thing. It doesn't really have any relation to the comic strip, seeing as the entire comic strip is set underwater and on a submarine. I was expecting maybe an image from the comic strip, even if it didn't really make sense as a background image, but I think if they'd have done that, it would have been slightly cooler, but perhaps maybe they couldn't do it for some sort of copyright issue. So the 8th Doctor is a repaint of the existing 8th Doctor figure, this time in his comic book colours. Now for anyone who has read the 8th Doctor comic strips, the first few were in black and white, then they came into colour and he did wear his TV movie costume for a brief number of issues, and then after he took a dip in the TARDIS swimming pool in his clothes, he then took on this costume instead. So it's clever that they've decided to release this figure in his comic book colours. Obviously, the issue with the 8th Doctor is that he only had one on-screen television appearance. I know some people wanted to see him in his Dark Eyes costume, but that wouldn't be possible because it would require entirely new tooling, which would be immensely expensive, and chances are that will never ever happen. But this was a very obvious choice because it is just the same tailored costume, it's just in different colours. Now, I will say, I absolutely love the 8th Doctor comic strips. For me, that was how I really got to like the 8th Doctor outside of the film. I'd never really listened to the Big Finish audios for a long time, but I used to read the 8th Doctor comic strips religiously. I have all of the graphic novels, and they are definitely worth checking out because they are fantastic. The articulation is standard. Articulation at the head, 360-degree turns at the shoulders, 360 degrees at the bicep, elbow articulation, so the arm can move up and down. Articulation at the waist. We have a T-joint crotch piece, which means the legs can move forwards and out to the sides, but this is hindered by his coat. We have 360-degree turns at the thigh, and we also have articulation at the knee, so that they can bend backwards. And finally, he also has articulation at the wrists. Detailing-wise, the head sculpt's paint applications have been changed since the original release, and I think they're actually better, which does seem to be a running theme with these Dr. Dalek 2-packs. The paint application of the eyebrows have been toned down so they're less cartoony, as seen on the 11 Doctors set version, and something that you may not be able to see is that around his eyes, particularly on the top eyelids, he has a pink wash. This is an interesting effect. I mean, I don't know if they were trying to make him look a bit like a comic book, but I think it actually works very well. You can't see it on camera, sadly, but in hand, it's really quite noticeable. The 8th Doctor's hair is slightly lighter compared to the original release, but only slightly. It's not as light as it looks in the film. I think this was just because they were trying to match Paul McGann's natural hair colour as opposed to that awful wig that he wore. The costume is also really nice. That dark navy blue is a really nice colour, and the buttons on his frock coat on the front and on the back have been painted in a darker gloss blue paint, which really makes them stand out. I know there's been a lot of arguments over what colour the 8th Doctor's coat was in the TV movie. Obviously we know it's green, but I know at the time there was lots of people wondering if it was black or whether in fact it was blue, and I know a lot of people do prefer the blue coat, so this is really good for them. The cravat has been painted a mustard yellow colour, which goes very well with the brown of his waistcoat. Although none of the buttons have been painted on the waistcoat, they have painted the chain, which stands out very nicely. In fact, it probably stands out better here than it does on the original release. The trousers have been painted in a tan brown, and his shoes have been repainted in a very, very dark, almost black brown. It's kind of like the same colour as his hair. Side by side, you can see that the comic strip 8th Doctor is far more interesting than his original TV movie counterpart. The colours are just that more vibrant, and they pop more while on display. That's not to say that I don't like his costume in the TV movie, I really do like it. But in toy form, it does seem that the comic strip version has the upper hand in terms of design. Side by side, the difference in the paint applications become more apparent. I definitely think that the paint apps on this new version are very much improved compared to the older release. So despite not appearing on TV, this is a very nice variant. I really like it because, like I said, I'm a massive fan of the comic strips with the 8th Doctor, and if anyone else is a fan of the 8th Doctor comic strips, well, this is definitely going to be one for you. It's also very useful for those of you who weren't able to get the 11th Doctor set, or didn't want to get the 11th Doctor set just to get the 8th Doctor. Obviously, this isn't the TV costume, but it's still a very nice variant, and it is so good to see another version of the 8th Doctor out in stores. Finally, we have Dalek Alpha from the 8th Doctor comic strip. The Children of the Revolution! Yeah, alright, we get the idea, it's like the song. Now, I shan't go into any details about who Dalek Alpha is, because I don't want to spoil it for people who don't know the comic strip, and I assume that the vast majority of people watching aren't really going to know the comic strip. It's definitely worth checking out the graphic novel that features that particular story, which is Doctor Who Oblivion. Alpha is just a repaint of your standard 60s Dalek. He features all the same articulation, 360-degree turns of the head, eye stalk up and down, and ball-jointed plunger and gun arm. I absolutely love the colour of this Dalek. More Daleks need to be red. The red and silver really work well together and also look good with the black hemispheres as well. It almost puts you in the mind of one of the Daleks from the Peter Cushing movies. Unlike other Daleks, Alpha has something that particularly makes him stand out from the crowd, which is the Greek letter Alpha, painted on his head. Now, one thing that is worth noting is the eye stalk. In the comic strip, the eye stalk is more like a 60s Dalek eye stalk, but rather than the white iris, it's orange. Now, I actually tweeted Al Durar about this and said the eye's not the same as it is in the comic strip, and he stated that because it was a comic strip, the colours and design were open to interpretation. I can hear any collector of DC Universe Classics and Marvel Legends smacking their head against a brick wall. Personally, I don't mind the fact that they've changed it. In all honesty, I think the orange with the red would have looked really garish. So I think they did go for the right idea. Another area that has caused some controversy is the hemispheres. Now, in the comic strip, it's not really that clear what colour they are. A lot of people think they're silver. In some panels, they do look black or very dark grey. Personally, I think they had the right idea in painting it black. Now, this is probably me being biased because when I was a kid, one of my favourite Dapol Daleks was that one. So I'm more than happy to have a red and black Dalek in the 5-inch line. Sadly, this one has a bit of a bent eye stalk from how it's been packaged. Not an issue. I've said it before, stick it in boiling water, it will make the plastic go soft and you can straighten it out. So final thoughts on this set. I really like it. I'm so glad that the 8th Doctor is getting more exposure, not just in toy form, but it's also advertising the comic strips, something that I grew up loving and really did help shape my love for this Doctor. Would I like to see more comic book inspired figures? Of course I would. Gosh, I would love to see figures of Izzy and Destry and all sorts of different characters. And, you know, throw in some Big Finish characters while you're at it. Give me Charlie Pollard. Please give me Lucy Miller. I would absolutely love to see these characters immortalised in plastic. But it's nice to see that the expanded universe of Doctor Who has had a bit more exposure in the toy line outside of the real-time Colin Baker that came out at San Diego Comic-Con a few years back. This is definitely a set worth picking up. And I have to say that Wave 3 has definitely been the best set for variants of the classic series Doctor. Much like with the 3rd Doctor set, this is proving quite difficult to find at the moment, but they are starting to appear in Toys R Us stores across the UK. Obviously keep checking the website, they're sold out at the moment, but you can get notifications from them, and keep ringing your local Toys R Us to see if they have any new stock. This set can be purchased for £20 and is exclusive to Toys R Us. Thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope this has been useful to you. Join me next time for my next review, which will be probably going to be the Chase Dalek Guard from Wave 2 of the Sound Effects Daleks and the Sound Effects Special Weapons Dalek. Thank you for watching this review, and I shall see you next time.